everybody, my name is Dude BDR, and this is TekTox. This week we are going to discuss sequels and originals, which sequels did it better, which originals did it better, what sequels should never have even come into existence, Star Wars, and see if we can't come to some common ground, because I know there's a lot of split decisions on these kind of things. Like some people like the newer generation stuff, even though it's not, it doesn't stick true to the original source material, but they like it because it appeals to them more, which I guess is the thing with Legend of Korra, Boruto, the sequel trilogy for Star Wars. They all do the same thing where they try and take the old, well-established, powerful, loving thing, and then they try and basically throw that in the trash can and make this new cringy thing better than the old thing, even though it's clearly not.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you've ever watched The Legend of Korra. I watched season 1, and I forced myself to go through the end of season 2, but I skipped a lot of junk because it just, 1, it started to not make sense, and 2, it was just bad story writing.
Yeah, I watched half of season 1 of Legend of Korra, and I was like, nah. I'm not
I thought
interested
it was interesting, the fact that the Avatar was scared of losing their bending. I'm like, okay, that's an interesting concept, but how would that work with the Avatar state and all that stuff? But then season 2 come around, and it's all about getting rid of the division between the worlds, which would essentially remove the need for the Avatar, because they're supposed to be the bridge between the two worlds. And then the whole wiping the slate clean and getting rid of every Avatar that came before. Yep, there we go.
You're just making me more and more glad that I didn't continue watching, because it sounds stupid.
It is so stupid. Toward the end of it, everything started to not make sense. It doesn't make sense to me how a master bender of, say, water can be more powerful than an Avatar who has mastered all 4 elements. A master of 1 or a master of 4, and then mastered the art of actually using all 4 at once. How can a solo master bender be better than the Avatar? It doesn't make sense, Sure, the Avatar could probably be overwhelmed by several people all at once, but at the same time, if it's a one-on-one fight, Avatar 100% of the time. How could that even be a thing, Especially with energy bending. What the... Anyway, I digress.
Oh yeah, that's another thing I didn't like about the fucking Legend of Korra,
waiting.
when they kept bringing in different new bendings as well. It's just stick to the original 4. That's what it's supposed to be.
I get
the whole metal bending. That was fine.
The way they brought that in was amazing too.
And then obviously blood bending.
Yeah,
but everything
I can understand that one too. The creepiness of it, and the scientific accuracy of it. You have water in your body. But yeah, the lightning being an extension of fire, I can grab a hold of that. The ice and blood bending with water, I can grab a hold of that. The metal bending and sand bending with earth bending, I can grab a hold of that. I don't think they ever really did anything special with air bending, because I mean, come on, think about it.
Yeah.
With air bending, you've already got some pretty badass powers. If you wanted to, boom, bend the air right out of somebody's lungs.
Yeah, it's
watch them suffocate.
Unarguably the most OP one, because you can do so much. The air is always around. You can get rid of earth and water and fire, so people can't do their bending, but you can't get rid of the air without killing yourself.
You know how they showed Gyatso had died with all those firebenders around him? That's the theory of how, like, he killed them. Like, he just pushed the air out of the room, and they all suffocated, including himself.
Yeah.
On the reverse side of that, you could hyper oxygenate somebody by rushing air just continually into them and cause them to go hypercapnic. And
Yeah, straight up. Like,
out they go.
Yeah. There's someone in the Mortal Kombat game that actually does that. Fujin. He's straight up an airbender. He's, you know how Raiden's the god of thunder. He's the god of wind. And one of his moves in Mortal Kombat 11 was straight up him sucking all the air out of your lungs and then like using it to force to push you back. And I'm like, well, at that point, that dude's dead. His lungs are collapsed. His or her lungs are collapsed.
And then, concuss them in the chest with that air that you just took from them, and now their chest is collapsed. Their muscles are bruised. Their heart is likely in arrest. Their ribs are likely crushed. Yeah, I could see that happening.
It's all gone. Your systems they're gone.
Right.
That's the only way I could. Well, with this whole situation, this is the only way I could relate to you guys. I am a soul that has not watched at all.
I recommend watching the first series. I showed it to my daughter. Like, I like the series. I've seen it like 4 or 5 times. I showed it to my daughter. She watched it all the way through the first time and immediately asked to start watching it over. She has watched it back to back to back to back like 7 times. She has seen the show more than I have. Not only that, but we were like goofing around and we were like quoting the entrance, the thing that Katara says at the beginning of the show, and I had missed a line. She goes, "No, Dad, no, you did it wrong." I was like, "What?" She goes,
"I messed up, Pop."
You missed the part where she says he has a lot to learn before he's ready to save anybody. Then she says, "But I believe Aang can save the world." I was like,
yeah,
I missed that part entirely.
I'm sorry. Please don't hate me, child.
But no, like, okay, so let's talk about some of our favorite originals that ended up having a sequel or a remake or something along those lines. I will start with, and I won't go for the low-hanging fruit, which is Star Wars. I will instead go a little off the grid. Nightmare on Elm Street, where they did the new...
You're talking about
the original, the first Nightmare on Elm Street, and like the next couple of sequels to it were awesome. Some of them, they mixed in comedy, horror, like disbelief, suspense. The first one was full of like thriller vibes because like you just. But then Wes Craven's A New Nightmare. Mm-hmm. Oh, like Wes, what were you even on? Like, why did you like? It was cool that you had Robert Englund playing himself, but like there was this duality with Freddy, and then you had what's her name? I forget her name now. Campbell or something like that. Elizabeth Campbell.
Campbell?
No.
Campbell.
No, the girl from the original. Now you're gonna make me look it up. Now you're gonna make me look it up. Where are we at? Here we are. All right. Nightmare on Elm Street. IMDb. Here we go. Heather Langenkamp.
Oh. Okay.
And then they brought her back in the New Nightmare. Yeah, like I don't know where I was going. I could. Anyway, but yeah, she was brought back for A New Nightmare. I can't remember if Depp was brought back for New Nightmare. Let me look here. Langenkamp, Robert Englund. I guess, and then there's Wes Craven in there as Wes Craven. But yeah, okay. No, I guess those were really just the two that they brought back. I didn't like it. So I didn't like it at all. The cinematography was bad. The story was bad. The The acting was pretty good, but I don't know. It rubbed me the wrong way.
It's one of those movies, like, I was just talking about this with my friend Tom, or Carvok, the other day. We were talking about, what was it, we were talking about Van Helsing. We were talking about, they have these fantastic actors, but the story was shit.
You talking about the Kate Beckinsale, Hugh Jackman?
Yeah. We were
like I loved the movie. I loved the movie because it was so, like, made for TV-esque, and like it's one of those guilty pleasure movies where you just kind of sit down and you're like, I really like this movie. Like, I shouldn't, but I really like this movie.
I like that you're like,
yeah, I really shouldn't, but
you know. yeah, I get that wholeheartedly, especially with the Nightmare on Elm. See, when you were talking about how we were discussing like New Nightmare, I was like, oh, okay. I thought you meant more along the lines of reboot and everything like that, the new generation, which...
Yeah, I mean, like, I've tried to stay away from them. I think I've seen one of the, like, new generation Nightmare on Elm Street. What was the... It was the same guy who played Rorschach, right? That actor, who was Freddy. Like, I don't even remember anything about that movie, is how much I didn't like it. Like, I think I remember, like, the parents, spoiler alert, the parents got together and burned down his house because he was molesting kids in the school or something, or he killed some kids.
It was something that went It was something that like hit a little too, I don't know, personal. I felt like the initial idea should have stuck with that film and it would have been fine. Right. Everything else just kind of seemed like they needed to have a purpose with everything, which it's like,
I think Chris is eating.
It's Freddy Krueger.
Looks like he's eating.
Yeah, he's eating.
Hope it tastes good.
So I could definitely agree with that one. I can definitely agree with that whole ordeal with that. With that being said, I think that goes for just about every. I think that goes for every.
I am proud. When in doubt.
I was trying too hard and I dribbled.
Oh, is it my turn yet? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Roll with it.
Okay, so, horror movies. There are so many sequels when it comes to horror movies. So I think that like you can only have so many good ones until you eventually shit out a bad one. Like the same thing happened with what was it? Let's talk about that. Friday the 13th, Halloween, even the old cheese gas ones as well. They have great like 2, 3, 4 movies, and then after that they just get ridiculous.
Myself,
take Jason X for an example.
I have some controversial opinions myself.
And we will get to that because I am absolutely certain I could guess some of your controversial opinions. Actually, no, what? Yeah, go for it.
First, I'm going to admit I haven't seen any Spider-Man besides the ones with Tobey Maguire. But I've seen all the Tobey Maguire Spider-Mans, and I enjoyed the third one with the Sandman. I liked it. A lot of people apparently did. I liked it. Also, I've seen Speed a lot. I enjoy the movie, but I also enjoy Speed 2. I don't think it's quite as good, but I think it's a fun movie.
I mean, I'll say, when I was younger, like 10, 11, 12, I liked Speed 2. Because, like, the action style of it fit me at the time. Because, like, to give you an idea of why, I thought that the Ninja Turtles movies from the 90s and the Power Rangers movie were, like, the greatest movies ever. Because they were just so action starry, action catchphrases and all that, and I was just like, oh yeah, and then I kind of like grew up some, and I was just like that. Oh no,
Well, you gotta
He
remember
said that? Oh, why did I think that was cool? Have a nice trip.
The only thing that
See you next fall. Like,
Power Rangers, really?
Oh god.
Yes.
Power Rangers? I know that one. Pink Rangers said that. Have a nice trip. See you next fall. And I'm like, yeah, you're like,
Time to split. I'm like, oh.
Yeah. You did. You didn't
Oh.
have to, but you did it. You did it. Yeah, no, I know exactly what
In
you're
another
talking
10
about.
years, you're going to be old enough that you're going to start saying that shit unironically to your children.
Yeah.
Well, he already is. He's got
Well, I
the
mean,
whole,
I'm a dad, so I can get by with it.
Yeah. Yeah, he's fine with it. It's kind of.
You got to wait till they're teenagers so you can be the true cringe master.
See, I'll say things that are like cool to say now, and like when they're teenagers, they're gonna be like, "Dad, shut up." Yeah.
That's when you gotta. Crank that shit up to 2.
Oh, of course, yeah. Dial it all right up to 11.
Mm-hmm.
You got to take your kids to the zoo when they're like 12 and go to the gorilla exhibit and be like, hey, that gorilla's heckin' bay, isn't it?
Okay, I'm even saying no. Don't do that. You don't do that.
You got to go full dad, man. Anyway.
That's just that makes everyone walk away. Even other dads are like,
Could be worse. You could bring back the dicks out for Harambe.
I was never a proponent of that.
Better late than never.
I mean, I agree they probably could have gone a different route to like stop the gorilla. Like, I don't
Of
know,
course they could have.
heavy
Tranquilized it.
tranquilizers.
Yeah.
yeah.
Or just like not
Tec-
freak out because the
technically
gorilla
speaking of
wasn't being
sequels.
violent. But anyway,
Yeah.
we're getting off
Technically
track.
Speaking
with
of
that.
sequels, no, that's a sequel because there was another kid that fell in a gorilla exhibit at some point in the past, from
What?
the
Yeah,
80s.
it's the
And
sequel
the
to
gorilla
Harambe.
protected the kid, so Harambe was actually the sequel, and it ended way worse than the first one.
You talking about
Really?
the female gorilla who held the little boy or little girl, whoever it was, next to the feeding gate?
Yeah,
Yeah, I saw
yeah.
that.
You
What
knew
happened?
what happened to Harambe. It's
Derek-
like, not to me, not today.
Dare I? Oh, okay. So wait. The female gorilla just kind of handed the child back, or
Yeah, here, take it. I don't want it. I don't want to die.
Well, yeah, she
No.
like the child fell in there and got
Oh, no,
hurt,
he doesn't
so the
belong
gorilla
here,
picked
so
the
he's
kid
held by
up
the human gate.
and was holding it like a mother would hold a baby, and she went over to the gate where like the workers would come in to interact with them or feed them or clean up the place. So she went over there because she knew that's where the people would come in, and held the kid there until one of those zookeepers came and took the kid.
Oh. Wow, that's.
I imagine.
that only makes you just terrible.
See, sometimes the
What?
sequel's better.
But
Oh,
anyway,
Jesus.
Anyway.
she handed it back to the.
back to cinema sequels. We're gonna go
Okay.
cinema sequels. Okay.
There's not a 0% chance that it'll become a movie anyway.
Right. I mean, if we're talking about like non-cinema sequels, there was My Sister and then there was Me, and obviously the sequel was better.
Okay, you know what? We're going way off track here.
But anyway,
That's comparing apples to oranges, my dude.
no, it's more like comparing vanilla to white fudge. You're just like,
Does it need to be? All right.
But anyway,
Where were we going? You were talking about how
we
were talking about
talked
how
about
some-
a little bit on like Wes Craven's A New Nightmare, how it shouldn't exist. That or they just could have done it way different, as compared to like Nightmare on Elm Street, Nightmare on Elm Street 2. And then like you had mentioned Halloween, where when I was younger and I had first saw Halloween 1, 2, and then I saw Season of the Witch, and I was just like, it's got the music and everything. Where the hell is Michael? You know? And I thought, like, were they trying to like deviate from Michael Myers at the time? Like, I didn't understand what the thought process was in going from, you know, super badass Michael Myers, like, what is he, gone forever now? Are you gonna like move on to something else, like turning kids' heads into crickets or something? Like, what's going on?
I think it's just one of that was the kind of movie that made people paranoid. It was more of a psychological, you know, mind fuck. When I was just talking about the whole what was it, the Jason series, the Jason X and everything. That's what we were talking about. That's
That was the last thing you'd mentioned.
We were going to be doing. Yeah, but there again, then I thought about that though on that whole thing. Yeah, that first movie didn't even have Jason in it. Their very first movie did not have Jason in it. It was the mother of Jason that actually was doing all the harmful things.
Right. Well, I mean, Jason was in it, but he was a kid.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
and the mother thought he was dead.
Yeah.
And I guess technically he was dead. Like Freddy. Like Freddy's technically dead? Question mark?
Yeah, they're dead. It's just killing the reanimated body.
Yeah. Like, are they zombies? Like, is Jason Voorhees a zombie?
I mean, he's more zombie than Freddy Krueger is.
Right, yeah.
Freddy Krueger's like the most reanimated thing I've ever fucking seen. He was a zombie.
Would that not make them a lich?
That works too. I think I would go with lich.
Okay.
So, what was the whole thing that you guys were going to talk about Jason X? I think you said there were some controversial things that you were going to talk about there, or maybe that was...
No, just all together. Like, he was talking about things all together.
Oh,
but go ahead.
Oh, okay.
Back to you, Chris.
Jason X was horrible. I remember watching that movie and... Okay, so when it comes to terrible sequels, there are terrible sequels that are just bad. Like, I don't want to see this again. And then there are sequels to movies that you go, this was fucking horrible, but I would love to watch it again just so I could get a kick out of it. I think Jason X kind of falls within those lines of that. That movie was hilarious bad. Not just bad, just hilariously bad.
It seemed like one of those things where, like, you watch it and you're just like, is it a product of, like, the new time and people trying to grab a hold of this, like, separate genre and bring it all in? Or were they trying to borrow from, like, Alien? Where were they actually going with this?
Oh, God, Predator and Alien's another one.
AVP, I don't know. I think AVP was...
I'm just talking about both of them in general. Both of their series in general were just...
Right, I mean, I think AVP was good as for, like, the story between the aliens and the Predator. The human aspect of it was kind of wishy-washy. I didn't really care for all that.
That's a very hard subject. Well, yeah, that's a very hard subject to try to put into a
but
story like that.
But then they bring in the second AVP, and we bring in the hybrid.
Yeah, the AVP-R.
Why not? Go for
and
it.
then, yeah, I mean, because, you know, the xenomorph is supposed to take on aspects of its host that it gestates in and then emerges from, correct? So, like,
correct.
Changing from just a regular xenomorph to now being, like, part of the hunted. Yeah, like, this the combination of the ultimate hunter and the ultimate, like, game. They, you know, you have the perfect organism, or so you think. I don't know. So, as far as, like, sequels go, I agree that AVP and AVPR were not really fitting for the Alien and the Predator movies.
Right.
But I also think that as far as, like, if you just take AVP and AVPR, AVPR was a horrible sequel to AVP. Like, if you made AVP the start of Aliens and Predator and introduced them that way, and then bring in AVPR, you'd be like, oh god, no.
It was terrible. Yeah. That's I guess you can call that a series of its own, AVP, like, because you have
Well,
aliens
it's
and
supposed
you
to
have Predator.
follow the Predator story more than the Alien story.
Aliens, yeah. Which was interesting, the whole ordeal with them being like, hey, this is the only reason why the aliens have initially tried to have been multiplying is because kind of the Predators allowed it to happen. They enforced it even just so they can have some game to hunt.
I think that was like kind of the same deal with Freddy vs. Jason, which, by the way, I found quite entertaining.
I thought it was a good movie. I'm gonna say this. I thought
I did like
Jason, it was good. That's gonna be one of my guilty pleasures right
and
there.
I like how in the end they left it on that cliffhanger where they're both still alive.
Yep.
Like Jason's walking out of the spoiler alert.
I was about to.
Jason's walking out of the water in the end, holding Freddy's head, you know, like palming it like a baseball, and then Freddy gives you a wink.
Yep, and then I was like, I want more of that. They were actually supposed to be doing Freddy versus Jason versus Michael Myers, and for some reason,
you see, I had heard, yeah,
Under the
exactly.
Dead
I had heard that it was supposed to be Freddy versus Jason versus Ash, and I was just like, how are they gonna make that work though?
I don't know, yeah, because Ash seems like the kind of person that he should live throughout the entire.
Yeah, like he's gonna like they would have to find a way to somehow make it so that the either Freddy and Ash or Freddy or Jason and Ash would have to team up against one or the other.
So it's about yeah. That's exactly
I mean,
what would have to do.
Because like in one way or the other, Ash can't be soloed out. Like it can't be a three-way fight. Okay, there would have to be a team. So I don't know.
Aside from
and of course, Freddy vs. Jason is also tied more into Jason's storyline than Freddy's.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Ash would be a character that's just kind of out of nowhere. I think they made a comic book out of that too.
Yeah, I think that is where they went with it instead of actually doing another Freddy vs. Jason movie. I believe they went to a comic that they did on it.
Yeah. There's a comic right here. Beneath the bloody waters of Crystal Lake, and an immortal evil awakes to begin a new cycle of violence 6 months after the Freddy vs. Jason. 6 months after... Oh, this is a sequel? 6 months after the events of Freddy vs. Jason vs. Ash, a power-hungry government and bureaucrat unleashes the denizens of the Necronomicon. Oh, shit. I call me interested. You know, that would have been dope.
All right, and Jordan, what is your go-to, like when we talk about sequels that are better than, worse than, should never have existed? What is your go-to on that?
Well, I do have an interesting one that is I think it would be quite funny to discuss.
Okay.
Because in most people's opinion, it's fucking terrible, but they made 6 of them.
Oh, okay. I think I know. Yeah, go ahead. Say it.
Sharknado. I wanted to talk about that. So.
Now,
Sharknado. Oh, that is a piping
for
hot
reasons
one, isn't it?
probably extremely obvious, I have never watched any of them.
Same.
Yep.
A $5 budget for a $100,000 box office? Why not?
I don't know.
Why was there
6?
was
like another movie in that same kind of genre, I think, called Birds or something like that. And it was literally like it was shot by a middle school 6th grade film studies class or something, because like they had like cut out birds, like cut out pictures of paper birds on like a wire hanger, and they like, and the person just like turns around and they're like, oh no, and then it cuts to the birds again, and then they're like,
even the names. You got Sharknado, Sharknado 2, the second one, Sharknado 3, oh hell no, Sharknado: The Fourth Awakens.
They know what they're doing.
Sharknado 5, Global Swarming, And then the last Sharknado, it's about time. Those are the genuine names.
Is it about time? I don't know. It's about time.
I know, like they know what they were doing. They knew their movies were just like trash made for TV movies. Like they gotta know that.
But then the thing is, they're again trash movies. But then they made fucking spin-off films.
Well, yeah, I mean, they were making bank on their cult following.
Latala, or whatever you that. And then Lava Latala, however you pronounce it, 2. They made 2 spin-offs for how shit this series was. How were they making bank?
Because of their cult following. Like, they were such low budget, but they made so much because people were just like, this is so stupid and ridiculous, you have to come see this. You know, and they would take their friends back and they would go and watch it, and then they would go and get their friends and be like, dude, this is such a stupid movie, you have to come watch it, it's hilarious.
Yeah.
And then that's kind of where it went.
You remember what I said about bad movies and then there's hilarious bad movies?
Yeah.
That one fell under the category deep into hilariously bad.
Well, yeah, like you got movies that are bad and then they make a bad sequel to it, but they acknowledge how bad they are, or they make it a running joke how bad it is, and they accept it and they continue making it in that vein. Like they're not trying to get better, they're just being entertaining the way that they're entertaining. And so those are acceptable because you're just like, they know they're bad, they're not meant to be good, they're just meant to be something you can sit and laugh at and be entertained by.
Okay, so it's Lava Lantula. It's a
lava.
Yeah, it's a giant tarantula that had lava powers.
Oh man!
I'm just looking up right now. Like, think of like what's it called? 8-legged freaks. Like, you know, the giant fucking spiders that was in that film. It's one of those. Like, it's the size of like a wolf, and it spits out fucking lava at you.
Sounds like something that came straight out of Devil May Cry 1.
I'll admit, that's fucking terrifying. Like, somebody who hates tarantulas, who hates spiders.
Very topical for you there, Andrew. You've been playing Devil May Cry.
Yes. Okay, sequels, fine. We'll go with that one. Cool. First game was great. Second one was the biggest fucking mistake in the series. Third one was amazing. Fourth one was fantastic. Fifth one, I think, was the best one overall. But that second one felt like it was either rushed out and it was made by the completely different people that weren't meant to make those kind of games. It was just awful. You could literally start a battle on the highest difficulty, stand right in that position, and it won't attack you. It will just sit there and move around you and attack you, but you'll sit there doing this, looking at everything going.
What's going on, bro? All right, let's move into something more recent, and it's probably an unpopular opinion. Actually, I know it's going to be an unpopular opinion. But okay, so you have the Godzilla movies, right? The new Godzilla movies, biggest Godzilla that's ever been, right? The first one, the first one was awesome. The second one was good. Godzilla vs. Kong. It's bad. It's a bad movie.
The action was great. Some of the story was okay. The human plot of it was garbage. It was terrible.
The explanation for how Kong grew so big was absolute garbage. Mechagodzilla, spoiler alert. Mechagodzilla was introduced in such a trash way. The human interaction with just like everything going on, like just everything, period, bad. The hot girl who dies because she's a bad guy kind of scene thing, stupid.
It's all coming.
The traveling into the inner world and like can't do it because of the gravitational difference and all this kind of stuff, and then all of a sudden they're just like, oh hey, yeah, by the way, we can overcome that. We've been able to overcome it. The people who did it before and died because we didn't want to help. Sorry, sucks. Like, that makes no
do it.
sense.
No,
But
you can't
apart
do
from
it.
all of that, the story itself just didn't seem to fit with the previous two. Where
Of course not, no.
where you had Godzilla being like the king, alpha, whatever, and then you have Ghidorah come along, and the two alphas fight, and now you're trying to bring in a third alpha fight with a giant monkey, who historically, by the way, was like 30 feet, 35 feet tall. You know,
Yeah.
big enough to climb the outside of the Empire State Building and still look small next to the building.
Yeah.
I don't know. And now the thing is standing over 300 feet tall. And even then, like, you look at it and how big he was in the Skull Island movie, and then how big he is now, how much time has passed. We don't know. They don't really explain it. But they will say that, oh yeah, he was a juvenile then. Now he's fully grown. Like, that doesn't make any sense.
Nope.
How did he grow that much in that amount of time? Like, well, you don't know how much time has passed. Like, you can safely assume that it's about a decade's worth of time. He's not getting that big in 10 years. Not an animal like that. Aside from the fact, we're not even going to mention the fact that an animal that big or a creature that big in any of these kind of like kaiju style monster type movies, no animal that big would be able to survive in Earth's atmosphere because they wouldn't be able to oxygenate their lungs sufficiently enough. But we won't go there.
Yeah, no, it's one of those things where you're like, well, it's a movie, you gotta. That's one you kind of have.
Yeah,
to
those are the ones where you have to kind of look over the actual science part of it and just like kind of let the pseudoscience flow.
Oh yeah.
I mean, yeah, you got a point. There's a lot of movies where like it's in science fiction, so you have to allow the genre to make, you know, room for non-scientific accuracies. Yeah.
If you want to do some accuracy things, there's a lot of movies that would be cut down about an hour and some change short. Just
exactly.
Because you're like, yeah, that dude is dead. You're not getting up.
Wanted.
Yep.
There's one that we wouldn't have. But no. Share with us some more, Chris, about your controversial opinions.
I've been thinking about it, but there's a lot of movies I haven't actually seen. Especially series.
See, I like the older. Yeah, I know, right? I was hoping, because he suggested this one, I was hoping he'd be here for this one, but
just because of the cult following, I've got a controversial opinion, and that's I don't care for Star Wars as a whole much. So of course I don't care for the sequels much, but I haven't seen them, so I can't really talk about them.
I don't know. I like the originals because the way the story was supposed to be told, the big secret, the big reveal, spoiler alert, is that Darth Vader is Luke's father. They had even kept it a secret from the cast. Okay?
I don't believe.
Oh, they did?
Where they told them all the way up to the day that they were filming the scene. They told them that Vader was going to say, Obi-Wan never told you the truth, did he? He killed your father. And they were going to spin the whole thing where Obi-Wan was actually the bad guy the whole time. That was the way that they were selling it to the actors. But right before they go in for filming that scene, Lucas pulls Mark Hamill aside and is like, look, changing the script. You're going to come out, pop, hand, you're going to be, and he's going to be like, he never told you the truth about your father. He told me you killed him. No, I am your father. And he's just like, is this true? Like, good on you for keeping that, like, secret. Like, but is that right? Yeah. Is that true? And That's the way they did it, and it was one of the biggest reveals in cinema history because it was such a shock.
Yeah, that would have shocked me too. If they would, I hope they kind of left that kind of thing out of like trailers. Like, would anyone?
Nobody would have guessed. Nobody would have known because there were no books at the time. Nothing. It was all Lucas who had done it. And they had even kept it a secret through the rest of filming. Like, there were no leaks on it anywhere for the filming, for the rest of the filming, the production, and the release. And then when people finally saw it in theaters, they were just like, you know?
Yeah, like,
because you had previously where Obi-Wan goes through the thing where he's like, oh yes, your father was once a Jedi Knight like myself. And then a pupil of mine killed him. He turned to the dark side and became Darth Vader, and he killed your father. In a light, yes, okay, that could be true. Like, once you see the prequel trilogy and see how it went down, and then you see how cringe all you want, but people are in love with them now that they've seen the sequel trilogy. Anyway,
that's too many names for another 3 sequel trilogy.
Yeah, the sequel trilogy, the prequel trilogy, the original trilogy. There's 9 movies, folks. 9 movies, okay? Unless you want to count movies. Rogue One. But anyway. By the way, Rogue One, probably one of the best Star Wars movies made, including the originals.
One of the best ones that Disney made. That can be agreed on.
It is definitely the best one that Disney made. Period. Hands down, no questions asked. Best one that Disney has made. Might be one of the best Star Wars movies of all time. I think it's in the running.
Now that you mentioned it about the whole, since the sequel trilogy came out, the prequels aren't so bad anymore.
Yeah, the saber fights are better.
I liked the prequels. I never had anything against the prequels. Obviously the originals are better, but I never disliked the prequels.
And a lot of some of the dialogue was written cheesy in the way it was on purpose. And even the actors that said, hey, do you want me to say it like this? Do you want me to and they're like, no, you gotta say it like this, okay? Because reason XYZ. Because you gotta remember also, in the prequel trilogy, even though we have greater technology to make the movies look better, they still have to seem older than the original trilogy because the original trilogy happens after this stuff. So you can't have your tech and everything looking so much better and more advanced than something that happens in the future.
Just so you know, Phil's in the lobby.
Okay.
Oh, there you
go. Hello.
Which, by the way, the only thing that I was a little offset by was the how the fighting was going, how everything was going, because in the prequels,
it really shows you
more fast. Yeah.
Through the prequels and the Clone Wars series, it really shows you how extremely weak the Jedi Order actually was. Oh, yeah. I agree 100% that the dark side is stronger.
The thing is that makes them weak is what the dark side always say, they're too arrogant in their own ways, and that
exactly. They have too much infighting.
They're the ones in charge. Yeah, they don't. Yeah. They don't think about they didn't think about the possibility of anything like Order 66 happening, which is what caused it to happen.
There you go. Exactly. They weren't looking for it. They weren't watching for this because it's shrouded in the dark side. Obviously, the dark side isn't shrouded by the light. They can see what you guys are doing just fine. There's some kind of disconnect here where you guys can't see what they're doing, but they can see what you're doing just fine. Seems like somebody's got the upper hand there. Then you got this ancient, old, decrepit dude who jumps and does a barrel roll and kills some of the greatest lightsaber fighters on the planet in seconds.
Man, his forward smash is legendary, dude. It's S tier. S tier. You can't.
But I did read some of that. It goes into an interesting thing about how he managed to kill them so quickly. It's because of the whole, as you said, them being arrogant and blah blah blah. They didn't know how to fight somebody like you know, Darth
Yeah,
Darth Sidious.
That's another take, because his specific form was like just completely just out of left field, and they're like,
Yeah.
"Whoa, what the fuck?"
Because
What's
of
going
how
on?
he
was wild and the power behind it. Yeah.
Yeah, because they're so used to the
boy.
whole fighting within balance and everything.
Right.
And he's just there like yeet 980 spin chop chop. They literally didn't know what to do, even though they were supposed to be they were supposed to be a group of the most powerful Jedi's, you know, that was alive at that time.
Like, they did my boy Kit
fair,
Fisto so wrong.
Some of them did get promoted too quickly, in my opinion, but that's just me.
Oh, of course. That's.
And then you had Mace Windu, who, by the way, I will go out and say this, okay? I think Mace Windu, Samuel L. Jackson, hit me up, we can fist bump on this. I think Mace Windu is possibly one of the most powerful Jedi of all time, one of the most powerful Force users of all time.
Because he could tap into the dark side.
Exactly, because he used Form 7, a variant of Form 7.
Well, he created his own Form 7.
Yeah, he along with one or two other people. I can't remember exactly. It's been a while since I've looked at it. But then you got this guy, okay? You got this Sidious, all right? And he's done all of this stuff, okay? Killed all these people. You see his power in the Clone Wars some more. And you see his power when he fights these 4 Jedi Masters who have come to arrest him, and how he offs some of them. And then Windu, blow for blow with this guy. Anakin doesn't show up. Okay, let's make an alternate storyline here. Anakin doesn't show up. Bam, Sidious is dead.
Yeah.
Done and over with.
No, none of that. We're done. We don't even need it. Yeah, I think that was the most bullshit part about the prequels is how Windu got his ass. Which, by the way, he's not dead anymore in the canon. Apparently, he survived. Which you're like, cool.
Yeah, I did read about him.
Yeah, I think it was like speculation for a long time, and mostly just like a thing that Samuel L. Jackson was like, yeah, I think he survived. I would like it better if he survived because, you know, he doing this and that and then yada. And then I think like him and Lucas got together, and Lucas was like, you know what? Yeah, you're right.
He was far too powerful to be struck down by a bitch.
Yeah, like, I don't know if you've ever seen some of his stuff.
My animated self dropped off a dropship and destroyed an entire legion of droids with his bare fist. He can survive a skyscraper fall with his arm missing.
Yeah. Exactly my point. Like, I don't know if you guys have ever actually watched the animated show or even some of the Clone Wars.
I've watched it all.
But Mace Windu, dude. Mace Windu. I will go out on a limb and say that he's probably in the top 3 of most powerful Jedi ever.
Oh yeah.
The man got the same color tone of his robes, the same as his wallet. I mean, that's an obvious sign.
I know, like I'm half expected to see like the back of his robe say "bad" and "motherfucker" on the back.
The inside of it. Once you take off the robes, you see the inside. The tag says "bad motherfucker" on it.
That'd be great. I mean, he's
it's
right,
etched on the hilt of his lightsaber.
I think hindsight for people who made those movies was in 2020 when it comes to Mace Windu. That dude was far too damn powerful.
I don't like how they took him out. It doesn't make sense how they took him. Like, just everything in that scene that he had just done.
The man almost ended the arc of Grievous by just being pissed off.
It's just one of those things where it's like, oh, we need to get rid of him. We don't know how to because we know he's so powerful. Oh, we'll just do it this way. Whatever. We'll throw him out of a building.
Angsty teen power.
Yeah.
He must stand trial.
Limited.
It's not the Jedi way.
What have I done? Out of all, like,
speaking of the dialogue, I had mentioned that earlier, and I don't know if any of you guys have like remember this specific scene, but when they were rescuing the Chancellor in the third movie, Revenge of the Sith, and they were running down that hallway, and then they get trapped in the ray shields, and The next line of dialogue is so perfect. Obi-Wan comes out, he goes, "Hang on, how did this happen? We're smarter than this." Like, Dora the Explorer type.
Recaps back to his to when his master gets killed from the exact same thing that happened to him.
Exactly. And then Anakin's like, "I say patience." Patience? Yes. R2-D2 will be right along. He'll release the shields, and we'll be free to go.
And Q comes in R2-D2.
See?
See? Then all the droids.
Oh.
No more.
Hang on. This whole operation was your idea.
I didn't know about the big secret of Luke being the father during filming and all that, but given that, I believe even more than I did believe that Jar Jar was actually a Sith.
Oh, Jar Jar is definitely a Sith.
Was
You
supposed to be
can't
the bad
change your
guy.
mind. You can't
Except
change
this
your
time,
mind.
this time he saw so much hate for the character that he decided on the third movie, maybe I shouldn't.
Oh, man.
That's a fucking given, man. That was a given. Jar Jar Binks being nothing but.
But all right,
Okay.
Phil, let's get your hot take. Sequels.
Did you guys see that animated fan-made video of Jar Jar Binks being a Sith? Like he's like his eyes like all like whited out. He's got scars all over his face.
Didn't you share that with me at one point?
A while ago, yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got like this grimace face, like grin, like overstretching grin, like rotten teeth. Perfect. That's perfect.
So Phil, I want to get your hot take since you're the cinemaphile here on originals that have a sequel or a prequel or something that come out that either the sequel was better, the sequel never should have happened. Like, where's your go-to when you think of something along those lines?
I mean, when it comes to a story that you know it closes pretty well, a sequel does not need to be had.
Right.
Toy Story.
Toy Story is one of
Toy
them.
Story 3. Toy Story 3.
if-
Toy Story
The Last
4
of Us.
should have never.
If
Oh
we
God,
look,
yeah, Last of Us, yeah.
if we look at like just the catalog of just cinema or even games or any form of entertainment, sequels, unless you know a sequel is supposed to be in the works, there doesn't need to be a sequel at this point. You might have like an adaptation of in the same realm of world or whatever,
Like a spin-off.
but yeah, like a spin-off per se at this point. I just can't remember. There was a movie that's up my tongue. Like, and I hate giving credit to this man. I really hate giving credit to this man. But Shyamalanga Ding Dong.
Shamalama Ding Dong.
Shimama ding dong.
Unbreakable.
Shamalama Ding Dong.
Unbreakable was a pretty
Okay.
good darn film, and you never thought to think there was a sequel going to come out to it. 10+ years later, what comes
Split.
out?
Glass.
Split.
Glass.
Split comes
Glass
out, and you're
Split?
like,
Oh.
and you're watching this film, you're like, and if you're like a super Shyamalanga Ding Dong loser fan,
Wow, Phil. You're weeding them out, aren't you?
that catches the
Loser fan.
cues of like, hey, wait a minute, I know that name. Hey, I know this kind of scenery. This looks familiar. And then you look at the end, you see the twist of seeing at the end, seeing, oh, this is Unbreakable too. Oh wow, this is amazing. This was a good film, even though I already thought it was a good film. Weird. Then Shyamalanga Ding Dong comes back and just ruins every bit of reputation he would have got out of this film. All the credit that he would have gotten, and just said, "Hey guys, I'm just gonna make a trilogy. I'm gonna call it Glass. That doesn't feature glass. And all that. Like,
I don't know. He
didn't
has
watch that movie.
he has
I just
3
know-
tropes of characters that he uses in.
I just
a lot of his
know
movies.
that movie featured glass. It just didn't star glass.
Yeah.
That was the issue. He had a good comeback, and then he lost it. Just lost it right then and there. Just like the last Airbender.
You're gone, you're done.
Oh God, The Last Airbender. We had mentioned that as a series, and then The Legend of Korra being absolutely trash and a mistake, and that Nickelodeon should feel ashamed and issue an apology letter to everybody that has ever lived and everybody who will ever live.
God.
With a world where this is now a thing. But anyway, yeah, M. Night Shyamalan, you should feel ashamed for the live action adaptation, because I won't call it a. It's not canon. It didn't happen. It doesn't happen. Whereas in the film or in the show, the ultimate form of firebending was the lightning. Being able to harness it and use it, create it. But in the movie, the ultimate form of firebending was being able to make fire from nothing.
Wait. Oh, okay.
But in the show, that's like they do it all the time. It's just what they do. They're firebenders.
One of the many things.
I know you're talking about Avatar, but I was still going off the basis of Star Wars here real quick, just a moment.
Oh.
Like Force Lightning is like the ultimate tier dark side thing to do.
Okay.
In film lore. In the games, of course, you got so much more like force training and all that. That was a kick-ass move to doing Knights of the Old Republic and everything, but. Force Lightning was like the go-to thing, and then once creative minds switched roles to Mickey Mouse, apparently the Force Lightning is like the free DLC that you get if you wanted to try dark side things at this point. Like it's just terrible trash.
Right. You're a Palpatine. You can do lightning.
The fact that Rey was like, "Oh hey, look, I can do that now, and I can do it on a whim." Was just horrible.
Yeah, the Force Lightning is supposed to be a manifestation of your power and knowledge in the Force, not something that you're just like, oh, I did this by accident? I can now do it freely.
So with that in mind, if they went with the original concept of what Force Lightning is, did she want Chewie to die? Or was she just pissed off at Chewie for getting himself caught?
She wanted Chewie to die.
I don't know.
I don't know.
If I can't have him, you can't have him.
Just like, fucking Chewie, I told you to learn your place. Boom.
She was just sick of just non-stop, just hearing, just non-stop. Like, I'm just gonna end this man's entire this beast's entire career.
You just see a poof of fur just like explode like a firework up in the air.
Jeez.
Just look up.
Goggle this bitch.
But don't even get me started on the naming scheme and like the crappy bending scenes in the Avatar movie. Okay.
Oh, you mean Ong and all that?
Sokka. Ong.
I haven't even watched the film yet. I watched like a couple of reviews off of it, and they were talking about that a lot. That's like one of the main topics that they had, besides the earth bending scenes.
Yeah, horrible. But anyway, and then whoever the heck that actor was they got to play Sokka, that guy has one acting face, and it's constipated.
The guy that played Jasper in Twilight.
He's got the Jason Statham face, man.
He was not the right person. Sokka is saying he's a fucking class clown, idiot, and
like,
he's just like, I'm dead inside, straight face.
I think what the whole concept of this movie, somebody watched the first episode of Avatar and the last episode of season 1 of Avatar, and was like, let's make a movie. I know what to do. And then they read like a synopsis of what happened in between, and then they made the movie, and they're like, aha, adaptation. No, that was crap. That was the worst. No. And then, like, because Sokka starts off as this stick in the mud, no fun, but he's still kind of goofy guy. And like over the next couple episodes, you see how his comedic placement actually fits in the show. And over the entire show, Sokka's just amazing. First of all, can we all agree that Sokka is actually pretty hardcore badass?
Yes.
Because he's a non-bender holding his own against master benders of every element. Travels with the Avatar, and yet somehow still a skeptic of all the spiritual things. Made a trip to the spirit world and still skeptical about it.
Let's just think of the scene when they're all attacking Missoula. You got Iron and Zuko kind of teaming up with the Avatar and the team just for a little bit just to attack Azula. They're all yeeting all their firebending at her. What is he fucking throws his boomerang?
Yeah,
That's
man.
badass.
And then you're talking about like there at the end, spoiler alert, where he's fallen, he's holding Toph with one hand, broken his leg, and he's got two firebenders, master firebenders, who are now enhanced by the power of Sozin's comet 100 times over, and he completely pwns them with boomerang sword.
Yep.
How do you take a character like that and then try and write him off as useless in a movie? Sokka doesn't get enough credit.
Ding dong.
Just ask the people that made the Femme Fatale of Ghostbusters.
Oh jeez. Isn't there supposed to be another Ghostbusters movie coming out soon?
There is, but it's
a direct sequel to number 2.
Yes, it's a sequel.
Is this the one where they're all female?
No.
Okay,
I'm talking about
good.
female, but the one that Andrew's talking about that they're making is a direct sequel to number 2, and it's not all.
Yeah,
female.
and it's supposed
So
to be.
it's Ghostbusters 3.
Yes. It's
Okay.
Ghostbusters
Yeah.
3.
Is it gonna have?
I will watch
Bill
that
Murray?
one then.
It has most of the original cast in it.
Yep.
Most doesn't guarantee
I mean,
Bill
unless
Murray.
you wanted them to dig a grave.
Bill Murray's in it. He was reluctant to do it until after Harold Ramis died. And all right, this is good.
I mean, why can't they do
Thanks,
the grave?
dude.
It's called Ghostbusters.
I
Bill
don't know.
Murray was featured in Zombieland, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, what?
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
so of course he'd be
the whole-
endorsing digging the grave.
Any,
all the
any
original people.
regrets? Garfield, maybe.
I hate to do this to you guys. Something came up. I just received a text message about what I have down here so far as what we have. Some kids, they like the new generation stuff that they had the old movies of. This is going to be the review of everything, and yeah, they just like they like the new stuff and kind of take everything as far as sequels and just straight up throw it out of the core thing out of the window to try to put some cringy new shit in, and it's annoying. Horror
Like
sequels
Space
can
Jam
only
2.
yes. Ugh.
Something that never needed to happen ever.
Oh no, and it was like I saw that movie and I'm like, that's a movie.
I haven't even
That's
seen it yet.
Need 9 speed.
You don't need to. Yep. Horror sequels can only get so far until they go bad. There's
Friday the
only
13th.
so many. Well, thank you. I just mentioned that too. And
Part
there was
13. They finally made it.
and then what was it? It was Nightmare on Elm Street. The new Nightmare was fucking terrible. And then we also covered.
The new Nightmare was terrible, but nothing after that was terrible.
Oh, everything else after that was terrible.
The 2009
saying.
with Jackie Earl Haley wasn't terrible.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is that everything after that point just becomes utter trash. And then we have movies that are so hilariously bad that they have to make sequels. Sharknado. Sharknado was one of those
I'm just
things.
waiting for Rubber 2.
We're not doing it.
I was gonna say that earlier. Fuck you for actually saying it.
You guys, that's what I had down for the recap though, but you guys keep going. I'm sorry
like,
I have
you
to
got-
take off, but thank you. Thank you for tuning in
alright.
and seeing me here. But I'll see you guys on the next TED Talks. I shall be around. Can't wait to see what you guys talk about next after this, alright?
Okay, bye.
Take care, guys.
Peace.